Lions,
Great game.
Chargers. Great win or bad loss? If you had to pick one.
Well, I think the better team won. So I'm going to say good win, great win. I'm going to say better win, but bad loss for all the teams you mentioned that are 4-5, 5-4 for the Chargers. Like this today made you think AFC North could have 4 playoff teams. So it's a bad loss for a team like the Chargers in that regard. But I always thought Detroit was just better throughout the whole game, and the last team with the ball won kind of thing. And it's a great same game parlay game. So that's it.
So they had that 4th and 2 near the end. There was a moment in this game, and I texted you and the fellas about it. It was 38-38, and the Lions had 488 yards and 0 turnovers. And you're just like, how is this a tie game? All they've done this entire game is move up and down the field and get every play they want. So they get to drive again. They immediately go down. They get the game-winning field goal. They finished 533 yards, 23 first downs. They were 4 for 5 on 4th down. And there was that key 4th down play, 4th and 2, where it's like, oh, should we try a long field goal here? What should we do? I vacillate depending on the situation and the team. In this case, it was like, they have to go for this. They're getting 8 to 10 yards of play.
Yeah.
I'm positive they're going to get this unless something horrible happens. And they run
the
a
play
really
calling
nice
was
play over the
great.
top.
Yeah, every play was great. Like the guy was wide open by 6 yards.
Tight end sneaks out and just goes and gets it.
I think they could have won this game by 2 scores. That one drive by the Chargers started at the end of the 3rd quarter and ended at the beginning of the 4th in a touchdown was a lot of that was bullshit. That really was like a lot of double calls and a phantom pass interference and just weird stuff. So I didn't think they should have scored there. But
this was the fishiest game of the day, and all the money was on the Lions. Mm-hmm. There was a 4th down and goal to go. They had a great stand, and they called a PI on somebody, and it was so dubious that they had to use the furthest away camera to show the replay. And they're like, "Oh, I think I see it there." It's like you guys have cameras right in the end zone. Like I guarantee you have a better look of the guy briefly holding his waist for a split second. And they ended up running, 8 plays inside the 2-yard line before they finally scored in the second 4th down.
Got it.
It did feel fishy. And I kept waiting for the Lions holding penalties, something like that. But
that's the Chargers too, right? Like I'm like, wow, how are they going to win a game like this where things are going their way? Actually, like, no, they didn't. They're the Chargers. But yeah, that was interesting with the camera.
Tough game for the Lions defense if you're just thinking about them from a title aspect, because guys in the Chargers were open the entire game. Keenan Allen, who had the classic Keenan Allen game. I think he had 20 catches for 380 yards. He went in the blue tent twice. He left. It seemed like it was over. They're just throwing red flags next to his name for an hour. And then all of a sudden he's back in the game. But Herbert, who I thought was shaking the first quarter, and then he came on. And you couldn't complain about their offense, but they just couldn't get stops. There were more Detroit fans than Chargers fans. The line was 2.5. It ended at 2. So they ended up covering basically for the whole week. All right, Lions, Chargers. Here's my Jared Goff question. Kyle might have to turn on the camera.
Uh-oh.
Is Jared Goff legitimately good? Like, I'm not saying is Jared Goff good. I'm saying, is he legitimately good? Because the guy I watched today seemed super comfortable, made all the right throws, had some great touch throws with feel. He could throw it deep. He could wing it. He was always on command. Like, he never had a really bad almost pick. He never had a stupid Jared Goff fumble, the shotgun snap, nothing. He was just smooth sailing for 4 quarters on the road. I was really impressed, and I've been impressed all year. And he's at the point now where it's like, I think he's becoming what we thought Lawrence was going to be this year. I think he took the Lawrence spot in the top 10. I'm going to give you my top 10 in a second, but do you agree that he's legitimately good now?
First of all, I don't know who's good anymore. I go by who I enjoy watching, because you're like, Gardner Minshew. No, he's good. Leave him alone. No, don't throw him in that class with Tommy DeVito. He's good. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go by who I enjoy watching. He's definitely one of 7 or 8 quarterbacks I enjoy watching, and he's excellent in this system. Excellent.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like a movie or something where a bunch of kids get adopted by different families, and you see where the kids get turned out. And he got adopted by the family with the good offensive line and the awesome offensive coordinator. Right. And now he's putting it together, and he's way better than maybe he ever thought. But if he'd gone to Arizona, it would have been a disaster. Maybe
Tampa
we're
Bay,
wondering.
right?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I've made my top 10, and you got the Mahomes.
These are
Burrow.
top 10 best, just best.
Well, so I just made a list. I'm like, is he top 10 now? Mahomes, Burrow, Hurts, Lamar, Allen. That's your top 5, right? And then Herbert's right there as the 6th. And then Tua, assuming he stays healthy. And then it's like Stroud and Goff and Dak in some order. And that's the 10. Yeah. And Lawrence isn't in there. And neither is Brock Purdy. And neither is Matthew Stafford because he can't play more than 4 straight games. And then it drops off quickly to like Geno and Kyler and Baker. We don't even have 15 quarterbacks I trust anymore. So,
no, of course. This is the worst. This is like, and we try to convince ourselves. I'm not saying this Goff example is one of them, but I think we're always trying to convince ourselves, all right, maybe this guy is good. Like that prison meal I had the other day, it was good. They used like 3 beans. Like, no, that black bean, that was shit. Somebody just shit in the vat. That was it. Like you really, I think we're stuck with what we're stuck with, and he's definitely top 7.
Wow, you're going 7. Okay,
yeah,
so you're
I'll
putting
put him 7. He and Dak are right in there, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, Cousins like out. Cousins not in anymore.
Yeah, Cousins is gone. The most interesting thing to me is that Lawrence definitely dropped out of the top 10. Like he just hasn't been good enough this year, and there's been too many games where you just feel like they're way behind the 8 ball. He can't get anything going. Their offense, I think, has been probably the biggest disappointment in the AFC. I was also stunned making the list that, according to my calculations, this means Baker is a top half of the league quarterback. If you put him 16, man. He's in the upper half. Kind of nuts. But
I don't like it.
Yeah, I think that Goff trade, when you figure they got a first-round pick, they were able to get rid of the Stafford money, and then they get this guy that they're able to salvage. It's pretty impressive. Lions are good. I really wonder about their defense though, and whether they can get stops. Like when they play your team in the playoffs, when they play, Philly, anybody, San Francisco, anybody who can throw the ball, are they going to be able to stop that team?
Yeah, well, they had no sacks today, right? And then sometimes they'll have 8 sacks. I think that's the weirdest thing, the weirdest dichotomy we have to go through week after week. I don't think we've seen more 8 sack games than we have this year. But then it'll disappear, so you don't even really know what you're watching from week to week.
Right. So the Chargers 4-5, and they're looking the rest of the way. They're playing Green Bay, never easy. Home Baltimore, at the Pats, easy. Home Denver, at Vegas, home Buffalo, at Denver, home KC in a game that KC might not care. So they're certainly not out of it. Yeah. So I wouldn't say that's like a murderer's row of a schedule. All right, so we both agree that was a better win for the Lions than a loss for the Chargers. All right.